There's something that happens in late December that nobody prepares you for. It's not the holidays. It's not the cold. It's this quiet pressure that builds in your chest when you look at the calendar and realize the numbers are about to change again. You feel it most at night. When the house is quiet. When you're scrolling through your phone and everyone else seems excited, making plans, talking about fresh starts and new beginnings. But you don't feel excited. You feel watched. Like time itself is standing behind you, waiting for an explanation you don't have. And the strangest part is, you can't tell anyone about it. Because how do you explain that a date on a calendar makes you feel like you're disappearing? The new year isn't coming to save you. It's coming to. Let me ask you something. When did January 1st become the day we're supposed to reinvent ourselves? Because that's what we've been told, isn't it? Every December, the same messages start appearing everywhere. New year, new you. Fresh start. Clean slate. This is your year. And for a few days, maybe you believe it. You make the lists. You set the goals. You tell yourself this time will be different. But underneath all of that hope, there's something else happening. Something nobody talks about in those motivational posts. The new year doesn't feel like a beginning. It feels like evidence. Evidence that another year happened. Evidence that time moved whether you were ready or not. Evidence that all those things you said you'd do last January are still undone. Society tells you January is hope. But your body experiences it as judgment. And the worst part? You judge yourself harder than anyone else ever could. Because you remember. You remember what you promised yourself 12 months ago. You remember the version of yourself you thought you'd become by now. And when you compare that person to who you actually are, standing here in late December, the gap feels unbearable. This isn't about failure. Not really. It's about something deeper than that. If this feels familiar, stay with me a little longer. Here's what happens in your mind as the year ends. Three things collide at once. Memory, regret, and expectation. And they don't collide gently. They crash into each other with a force that leaves you feeling disoriented and small. Memory shows you everything you didn't do. Every plan that dissolved. Every promise that faded. Every moment you meant to live fully but somehow let slip past. Regret tells you it's too late. That you wasted time. That other people figured it out and you didn't. That you should have tried harder, been better, done more. And expectation. Expectation is the cruelest one. Because it's already building the narrative for next year. It's already creating a vision of who you're supposed to become. And that vision feels both necessary and impossible at the same time. You're stuck between who you were and who you're supposed to be. And the present moment, this actual moment right now, feels like nothing. Like a space you're just passing through on the way to being someone else. But here's the thing nobody tells you. Unfinished goals don't just sit quietly in your mind. They take up space. They become heavier as December approaches because the deadline is approaching. The year is ending whether you finished or not. And every unfinished thing becomes a small verdict on your character. A small proof that you're not disciplined enough. Not focused enough. Not enough. The comparison intensifies too. You see other people's highlight reels, their accomplishments, their forward motion. And even though you know, logically, that you're seeing a curated version of their lives, it doesn't matter. Because in late December, everyone else's progress feels like evidence of your stagnation. The silence feels louder too. When the year is ending, there's this strange quiet that settles over everything. Not peaceful quiet. Waiting quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you hyper-aware of your own thoughts. The kind that forces you to confront things you've been successfully ignoring for months. You start asking yourself questions you don't want to answer. What did I actually do this year? Who did I become? Am I any different than I was last January? And if I'm not, what does that mean about me? These questions don't have good answers. Not really. But that's not the part nobody talks about. What nobody explains is why this feeling is so specific to the new year. Why birthdays don't hit the same way. Why other transitions don't carry this same weight. Why December 31st feels like a reckoning that nothing else does. And the answer is uncomfortable. It's because the new year forces you to see time as real. Most of the year, you can ignore time. You can live in a kind of soft present where days blur together and weeks pass without much notice. You're busy. You're distracted. You're moving through life without constantly measuring it. But the new year breaks that illusion. Suddenly you're forced to acknowledge that 12 months happened. That you're a year older. That time moved and you moved with it, whether you felt like you were progressing or not. And when you're forced to see time, you're forced to see yourself in relation to time. This is where the feeling of being lost actually comes from. Not confusion. Not lack of direction. Identity erosion. Think about it. Who are you, really? Not the roles you play. Not your job title or your relationships or your responsibilities. But you, underneath all of that. Most of us build our identity on becoming. On the idea that we're moving toward a better version of ourselves. That we're works in progress. That someday, eventually, we'll arrive at who we're meant to be. But the new year reveals the truth. You're not becoming. You're just continuing. The person you are right now is not a rough draft. This is it. This is the published version. And when another year passes and you're still fundamentally the same person, still carrying the same doubts, still struggling with the same patterns, it destabilizes everything. Because if you're not becoming someone else, then who are you? The new year is a mirror. And what it shows you is continuity. Not transformation. Continuity. You're the same person you were last year, and the year before, and the year before that. With slight variations. Minor adjustments. But essentially unchanged. And that's terrifying. Because it means all the promises you made to yourself, all the visions you had of who you'd become, were fantasies. Comfortable lies you told yourself to make the present moment bearable. What happens next is the part people avoid. Let me tell you what actually happens when January arrives. For the first few days, there's adrenaline. Momentum. The excitement of newness. You feel motivated. You make changes. You follow through. But then, quietly, usually around the second or third week of January, something shifts. The novelty wears off. The motivation fades. And you're left with the same life, the same patterns, the same you. And that's when the real loss happens. You abandon yourself. Not dramatically. Not consciously. But gradually, you let go of the vision you created. You stop doing the things you said you'd do. You fall back into old rhythms. And you tell yourself it's fine, it's normal, everyone does this. But underneath, there's a small betrayal happening. You're proving to yourself that you can't be trusted. That when you make a promise to yourself, it doesn't mean anything. That your word, to yourself, is worthless. This is the cycle. Every year. The same cycle. December brings pressure and judgment. January brings false hope and temporary change. February brings quiet resignation. And then the rest of the year is just time passing. Until December comes again and the cycle repeats. And each time it repeats, you trust yourself a little less. You believe in your capacity for change a little less. You become a little more cynical about the whole idea of self-improvement. But here's what nobody tells you about this cycle. It's not your fault that it happens. It's actually designed to happen. The new year as a concept, as a cultural moment, is designed to fail you. Because it's based on a fundamental misunderstanding of how human beings actually change. Change doesn't happen because of dates. Change doesn't happen because you declared it. Change doesn't happen because you want it badly enough. Change happens slowly, imperceptibly, through consistent small actions that have nothing to do with inspiration or motivation or January 1st. But we've built an entire cultural mythology around this idea that the new year is magic. That crossing that arbitrary line from December 31st to January 1st gives you some kind of power you didn't have before. It doesn't. All it gives you is expectation. And expectation, without support, without structure, without realistic understanding of how change works, becomes just another weight. Another thing you're carrying. Another thing you'll feel guilty about when you inevitably don't live up to it. So the feeling of being lost isn't really about the new year at all. It's about the impossible standard you're holding yourself to. The standard that says you should be able to transform yourself overnight. That you should be able to overcome years of patterns and habits through sheer will. That you should be someone different just because the calendar says so. And when you can't meet that standard, because nobody can, you interpret it as personal failure. You think you're the problem. You think you lack discipline, or willpower, or commitment. But the real problem is the expectation itself. The belief that change should be easy if you just try hard enough. The belief that who you are is negotiable. The belief that the new year is a reset button instead of what it actually is. A continuation. If you're still here, there's something you're waiting to hear. Let me tell you what this cycle does to you over time. First, it drains your motivation. Because every time you set a goal and don't follow through, every time you make a promise to yourself and break it, you're teaching yourself that trying doesn't matter. That wanting something isn't enough. That you, specifically, are incapable of change. And once you believe that about yourself, why would you try? Why would you set goals or make plans or hope for anything different when you have years of evidence that nothing will change? So you stop trying. Or you try less. Or you try with a kind of hollow going through the motions energy that guarantees failure before you even begin. Second, it creates false urgency. Because if January is the only time you're allowed to change, if the new year is the only acceptable moment for transformation, then missing that window feels catastrophic. It's February 5th and you've already broken your resolutions. Well, guess you'll try again next year. It's April and you haven't made progress. Too late now. Better wait for January. This artificial deadline makes every other moment of the year feel less important. Less real. Less available for actual change. Third, and this is the one that matters most, it makes you abandon who you actually are in pursuit of who you think you should be. You spend so much energy trying to become this imagined future version of yourself that you never fully inhabit the present. You never accept yourself as you are right now, in this moment, with all your imperfections and contradictions. And without that acceptance, change becomes impossible. Because you're not changing from a stable foundation. You're changing from a place of self-rejection. From a place of not good enough. From a place of shame. And you can't build anything real on that foundation. Here's what I mean. When you look at the new year as a fresh start, what you're really saying is, the old me wasn't good enough. The life I'm living isn't acceptable. I need to be different. And maybe that's true in some ways. Maybe there are things you genuinely want to change. But the frame is wrong. The frame makes it about rejection instead of evolution. It makes it about fixing yourself instead of growing from where you are. And that frame, that constant self-rejection, is exhausting. It's corrosive. It makes you feel like you're always falling short, always behind, always not quite there yet. You become a person who's always waiting to arrive. Always waiting to become. Always postponing actually living until you've fixed enough of yourself to deserve it. But you never arrive. Because the standard keeps moving. Because there's always more to fix. Because the version of yourself you're chasing is a fantasy that gets more elaborate every year. And meanwhile, your actual life, the one you're living right now, passes by unnoticed. This is the cost. Not just the failed resolutions. Not just the wasted gym memberships and abandoned projects. The cost is your relationship with yourself. The cost is your ability to be here, now, as you are. The cost is your life. Stay with me. We're almost at the part that matters. So what do you do with this information? How do you exist in a world that tells you every December that you need to change, every January that this is your chance, and every February that you've already failed? I'm not going to tell you to ignore the new year. I'm not going to tell you to stop setting goals or stop wanting things to be different. But I am going to tell you the truth. The feeling of being lost that comes every December. It's not a problem to solve. It's information. It's telling you that the way you're relating to time, to change, to yourself, isn't working. It's telling you that the cultural script you've been following, the one that says transformation happens on a schedule, is a lie. And once you see that it's a lie, you can stop participating in it. You can stop judging yourself for not being transformed by January 15th. You can stop comparing your progress to an impossible standard. You can stop abandoning yourself every time you don't live up to the person you thought you'd be. But here's the hard part. And I'm going to say this slowly because it matters. Letting go of that script means letting go of the fantasy that you're going to wake up one day as someone different. It means accepting that you are who you are. Not forever. Not unchangeably. But right now, in this moment, this is who you are. And change, real change, doesn't come from rejecting that. It comes from accepting it so fully that you can actually see clearly what's real and what needs to shift. Most people can't do this. Because acceptance feels like giving up. It feels like settling. It feels like admitting defeat. But it's not. It's the opposite. Acceptance is the only place change can actually happen. Because it's the only place you can see yourself clearly enough to know what's true and what's performance. What's authentic and what's just another version of who you think you should be. The new year will come again. December will bring that same pressure, that same quiet panic, that same feeling of being watched by time. But maybe, this time, you won't interpret it as evidence that you're failing. Maybe you'll see it for what it is. A moment. A cultural ritual. A chance to reflect, sure. But not a verdict. Not a deadline. Not a judgment. And maybe, instead of making promises you don't trust yourself to keep, you'll just be here. Present. Aware. Not trying to become someone else. Not trying to fix yourself. Not trying to arrive at some imagined future where everything finally makes sense. Just here. As you are. In this moment. Which is the only moment you actually have. Because here's what I've learned, and what I think you're starting to understand. The feeling of being lost doesn't come from not knowing where you're going. It comes from not being where you are. From spending so much time in the future, in who you should become, that you forget to exist in the present. In who you already are. And the present is the only place you can actually live. The only place change can happen. The only place anything real exists. The new year is coming. The pressure will build. The questions will come. The comparisons will intensify. And you'll feel it. That strange weight. That quiet panic. That sense that time is watching you. But maybe this time, you won't run from it. You won't try to fix it. You won't promise yourself you'll be different. Maybe you'll just feel it. Acknowledge it. Let it pass through you like weather. And then, when January comes, you'll still be here. Not transformed. Not fixed. Not new. Just here. Continuing. Which is all anyone ever does. The year will change. The numbers will shift. The calendar will reset. But you'll remain. As you are. As you've always been. As you'll continue to be. And maybe, quietly, without announcement or pressure or expectation, you'll change too. Slowly. Imperceptibly. In ways you won't notice until much later. Not because January 1st arrived. But because time passes. And people, when they're not performing transformation, when they're not judging themselves, when they're just living, tend to shift. Gradually. Naturally. Without needing a new year to give them permission. This is the truth that nobody tells you about late December. About the pressure. About the feeling of being lost. It's not real. None of it is real. It's a story we tell ourselves about time and change and who we're supposed to be. And you can put the story down. You can walk away from it. You can stop participating in the cycle. The new year will still come. But it won't carry the same weight. It won't feel like a judgment. It won't make you feel like you're disappearing. It'll just be another day. Another rotation. Another moment in a life that's already happening, whether you're ready or not. And that's okay. That's more than okay. That's real. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. For staying. For letting these words sit with you. I hope they helped you see something you needed to see. Or maybe they just helped you feel less alone. Either way, I'm glad you were here.